And the common issues with the 2025 Toyota Camry includes the glitchy wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, persistent squeaks and rattles, and problems with the windshield and wipers. Now, other reported problems involve hard driver's seat, brake noise, and issues with various electronic systems like the automatic wipers and the lane centering. And some owners also report transmission noises and concerns about part of the availability for repairs. On technology and electrical issues that have been going on with the Toyota Camry have been the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, frequent connection features, causing failures requiring manual repairing, and it failing completely, which would be quite annoying when you're driving to work and your Apple CarPlay doesn't work, and now you got to fumble with your phone and take your attention off the road. I mean, this can be quite annoying. And there are also electronic system issues with the automatic wipers, lane centering, and a dashboard warning light not displaying correctly. And that could be a headache too when you're driving to work and you just want your cruise control and the lane centering just to work right because you're feeling tired, you're fatigued, you're trying to do all this overtime, and that can be a nag. And then there's issues with the instrument panel software. Now, a recall was issued for an instrument panel software error that can prevent speed, brake, and tire pressure lights from displaying. Now, that could be quite a headache, but at the same time, it can be relief. Have you ever been driving and your tire pressure sensor light comes on and you just got like 27 psi and you're okay at 32? It's not bad. You don't feel like going to a gas station right away because you don't want to be late from work, and if you're late, more than 5 minutes, you get ridden up. Who got time for that? But at the same time, it's important to know when your tire pressure is like at 27, at least you can take care of it later. So this is a big ordeal. And hopefully they fix it with the new 2026 model, as we see here. And then there's other issues, such as body and interior. We have the windshield and wipers spontaneously cracking, windshields and wipers that skip or screech. Now that's a sort of weird issue, and honestly this may not be a super serious issue unless the windshield starts cracking for no apparent reason, even though there's no rocks hitting it. That would be a serious issue. But this could also mean that the rubber may be breaking down due to something wrong with the vehicle. Now we're looking at the Toyota Camry, the interior. We're going to be showing just some of these B-roll footage just so we can get some idea and talk about what we're looking at. But this right here is the 2026. We're talking about the 2025 model, and we know that the new model, hopefully they address these errors. Now, there are electronic system issues with the automatic wipers and lane centering, which we talked about earlier. And then we talked about the instrument panel. A recall was issued for an instrument panel software error that prevent the speed, braking, and tire pressure lights from displaying, which, like I said, can have its ups and downs. In the windshield wipers, we talked about that. And then the squeaks and the rattles, persistent noise from various areas, including door trim and center console, and the transmission drivetrain, which is something sort of weird, but you sort of expect this sometime in an internal combustion engine car. You expect the noise. You're going to have transmission noise and the squeaks and rattles. But hopefully on the new one, they address this issue. Now you have the seats. Now the driver's seat is often described as hard and uncomfortable, though the rear seats may be softer. And now Toyota may have went a little too far with trying to make it sporty and making the seats harder. Which they probably got complaints before, but hopefully they fixed it in the new one. I mean, as we look at the one here, there's really no way of seeing that which one is softer and which one is harder unless you put your butt on a cushion. And then there's door trim creaking noise that can return after a dealership attempt to fix. So they can fix it, but they still cannot address the creaking noise from the door trim. That could be a lot of things. It could be the screws, and sometimes to be loose and tighten. Sometimes it could be tightened too much. Sometimes it could be something very, very particular, but hopefully they address this in the new one. And then the trunk. Now, some owners report that the trunk needs excessive force to close. That sounds like an adjustment issue. But at the same time, who knows what the issue could be? Who knows if they addressed it in the new ones? But this is just some of the issues that's going on with the 2025 Camry. And then we have mechanical and powertrain. On the engine and transmission, there's reports of machining issues with the cam cradle leading to oil warning light and the need for lengthy part back orders. Now, some owners also report squeaking and rattling from the transmission. That's an intense issue. Now, the machining issue with the cam and cradle leading to the oil warning light. It sounds like it may be, in order for them to fix that, they're going to have to open up everything to get to the cam to fix it. And then you have the brakes. Now, there's complaints of brake noise and vibration and issues with the forward collision accidents avoidance. That can be pretty intense. Brake noise and vibration. How they address this in the new 2025 or new 2026, I don't know. But I'm sure hopefully they did something. Toyota's always working hard to address issues. That's why people like these cars, and that's why it's the number one selling car for years and years to come. And other people complain about wind noise. Some drivers report excessive wind noise at highway speeds, which is something different. And it could be the aerodynamics. It could be something. It could be the way the mirrors are made. And how have they addressed that now? We will see. But in the 2025, these are the issues. There's parts availability. There's several complaints. Mention long delays in getting parts for repairs, sometimes due to high demand. Fuel capacity. Now, some owners report that the actual fuel capacity is less than the advertised amount. Now, can we expect that? Can you expect them to say certain things about these issues that, sometimes certain people say, like certain manufacturers say something about cars that are not true in order to sell them. They all do that. And now you have, now with the safety mechanical issues, if we go back and let's dive deeper. Now, as far as with the cracked windshield and the sunroof, now there's a frequent complaint is that the windshield and the sunroofs can crack spontaneously, sometimes while the car is parked or driving at moderate speeds. With no clear external cause, now owners have reported difficulty getting replacement parts from the dealer. That sounds like that could be a nightmare. And sudden unattended accelerating and braking. Now, some drivers have reported incidents of sudden unattended acceleration or abrupt phantom braking, often linked to forward collision avoidance or adaptive cruise control system, misidentifying objects in the road. That can be insane. Can you imagine driving down the highway at 70 miles per hour? All of a sudden, out the blue, your car jam on the brakes and people behind you, they're going to ram you. And this could be a nightmare. I really hope they address that in the 2026 model. I'm sure Toyota has. But this is something else. But within the system, and the system actually thinking about there's something in front of it, that could be activated too by, it could be debris or something in front of the sensor, and the computer reads it as an emergency, and then you have sudden unattended braking. And then you have the engine and hybrid system concerns. Now some of these issues, now there are reports of low oil warning messages appearing despite the adequate oil levels are potential software glitches. Now some owners also note that the engine can be loud and vibrate at low speeds, with undefined transitions between the EV and the gas model and the hybrid model. Now we have a lot to talk about here. Now if I go longer than extended, I may reverse the video and continue to keep talking because these are some important points. Now the hybrid system in cars, it's a plus because we get more mileage. But the loud and the vibrating noise at low speed with undefined transition between the EV and the gas mode, that's something you got to get over with, folks. I believe that is a particular, if something's wrong, that's something that you should be able to deal with. It doesn't seem like a system failure, but it's just a difference in modes. But there has been recalls. Let's talk about the recalls now. Now, there's a safety recall was issued for a certain 2025 model due to potential damage to the second row center seatbelt. Now, during manufacturing, which could increase the risk of injury in a crash. Now, another recall was for the instrument panel software error that could cause the display to go blank at startup. Now, I had that happen to me before in the BMW 430i, where the dashboard just went crazy and it just fixed itself. It freaked me out at one point, but then it fixed itself later. And that was something else. But in this particular situation, it's not really something to lose sleep over. But it's a recall. And Toyota's known and Lexus is known for fixing things pretty quickly. I mean, I do have a Lexus, so I am, a Toyota and Lexus fan. But at the same time, as a consumer and as a person who buys a car, you got to expect snafus every now and then. On interior and technology issues. There's been infotainment issues, like with wireless Apple CarPlay, which we talked about earlier. Failed to connect automatically, which would drive you crazy. And the central display screen may also randomly shut down or glitch, impacting access to navigation and the backup cameras. Now, navigation could be an issue if you're trying to find your way somewhere and the glitch happens, and then you have to go on your journey without the convenience of the navigation showing up on your infotainment system, which could be a headache. And then you have the issues of noises and rattles. A lot of people report the persistent interior noises, including wind noise from the driver's side at highway speeds, creaks from the door trim and the headliner, and loose sounding windows when the door is closed. It's almost like living in a house and you hear the house moving, the wood and everything's settling. And the same thing, you get that in cars too. But there's a limitation, a threshold of the noises and rattles when it gets to a point where like, wow. But at the same time, you got to remember, it is a Camry. It's not a Lexus, a higher brand. If you want quietness, you just have to buy a Lexus. But if you have a Toyota, it's not going to be as refined. And we can expect that in any car, even in a Chevrolet. You're not going to get the same luxury from a Chevrolet that you would get from a Cadillac. You would expect more in a Cadillac, but you expect less in a Chevrolet, and the same thing with Toyota. I'm not saying anything different, but then they said there's also an issue with seat comfort. And we talked about the back seat being soft and the front seat being too hard. And we came to the conclusion that that was because of the sportiness, making the seats harder, which sort of makes sense so you don't be tossed everywhere, right and left. It's hard to get a comfort place. And then there's build and quality fitment complaints. Also mentioned that the trunk requiring more force to close, misaligned front bumpers, easily chipped paint, and door sills that tear prematurely. That is something else, folks. The door sills tearing prematurely sounds insane. Now that's something that you really can't put up with. And make sure you address that right away. And again, I'm a Toyota fan and a Lexus fan. And I guess I'm down for quality. But at the same time, the expectations in a Toyota can't be the same as the expectations in a higher end car. But the Toyota has made such big strides. I hope you guys enjoy your Toyota Camrys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Remember, like and subscribe and have a fantastic day. AO Automotive Reviews, also known as AO Creatrix, trying to make things more personal. Any issues, just give me a holler in the comments. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, and have a fantastic day.